welcome back to GearHeadGeeks, where in this video we are going to solve a problem. The problem is that this KZ400, which we had gone on ahead and built the whole motorcycle, put it all together, and it ran flawlessly. I mean, the bike just was perfect. The throttle response was perfect. Everything about it was perfect, except for one thing. It developed an oil leak down in here. The KZ400s are known for leaking oil, and I was very, very careful about sealing up the gasket and whatnot. I could only find a aftermarket head gasket. The problem is that it shouldn't be leaking oil from there. It was sealed up very, very well. The heads were surfaced, the cylinder was surfaced, everything was in perfect shape to go back together. So what it's going to come down to is we are going to strip it all down. We'll pull the head off. We are going to have to reseal the head gasket because I can't find another one. And we will go on ahead and get this guy figured out and find out why it's leaking oil in here. Other than that, it was perfect. So I'll get to working on it and we'll go from there. All right, so getting started on things, we're going to pull out the exhaust first. And the exhaust is down. That's good enough. Okay, we're going to remove our coil. Get this guy unplugged. Okay, and okay. Oh, grab more. And bada bing, bada bing. It gets that out of the way so we don't have to mess with it. We'll put our bolts back in where they go so we don't have to fiddle around looking for them later. Maybe. Okay. And we'll get this guy unplugged. Coil is out. No problem. We're going to be removing this. We'll take the world's best pliers here and we'll grab a hold of this. And oh, there we go. And get that loose. And we'll get our tack cable loose. All done. All right, now we've got some bolts up here we got to get loose. And these are 13s, yes they are. Now, I have on the end of this has a one-way valve so that it can blow out, but it can't suck back in so it doesn't build too much pressure inside the engine. I thought maybe that would be, that is an issue with these, but with that system like that, it really doesn't seem to be hurting anything. So there's that. Okay, now we can go on ahead and we can pull our carburetors. But first we need to pull off we'll get our air cleaners off. Just pop right off. Put it aside. All done. Now we can go on ahead and get these guys loose. Okay, those guys are loose, and we should be able to at least get the carburetors out of the way. And here we go. Well, maybe. being stubborn, I guess. There we go. Oh, there we go. We got it. All right, so carburetors just need to sit right there. And so now what we can do is start pulling these bolts. And I don't think this is going to be enough. We'll break them loose. Okay. And we're going to break them loose in the same order that they are torqued down. So this is 7. This is 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. Okay, we'll break these guys loose. The glue we use on this is absolutely great stuff. Okay, there's that. Okay, now we can start removing our bolts. I don't know, first things first, we need to remove these caps. These are our valve adjustment caps. That one. There. Go to the other side, get it. Okay, and to remove the head, you have to get these 2 bolts down in here, so you have to go on ahead and remove the spark plugs and then drop them on the floor. We'll be needing to check the gap on that, make sure it didn't, it looks like it closed up a bit, so we got to make sure we get that fixed. Try not to drop them on the floor again. Loose and we got that one loose. The best thing with these bolts, put them in there. Okay, so now we have everything pretty well loosened up. Make sure you don't want to lose those. And we can now go on ahead and unwind this. Okay, and then there are 2 6mm bolts. And you use a 10mm socket. this is our cam chain tensioner. You need to have that loosened up, because if you don't, you will not be happy. Things get with a spring, so we'll just take that completely out so it's not in our way. Okay, we got our head bolts. And 2 more. Okay, so the head, there's 2 pieces of this whole thing. You've got this guy, which has got is your rocker cover, so this is going to come off, and then the head can come off from there. So we make a double check, looking around, and we're just going to give this thing a few love taps, and the head is basically loose at this point. This thing has been sealed so it doesn't leak, and the glue is pretty tenacious at this point. But there it goes, and it's under spring pressure from the valves itself. So once you get it knocked loose, you can get it out of there. We just got to get the other side knocked loose here. Maybe. It wants to. The head is loose, so it's there we go. There we go. That should about do it. Over in here. All right. Okay, get our carb cables out of the way, and we now have this off. Okay. So next is we need to get the cam chain, cam gear off. So there's a couple steps in this. Get a rag here. Alright, so what we need to do here is we are going to rotate the engine around. I could just pop those off, but we'll just rotate the engine around and do it properly. Out of the way, and everything is so clean and nice now. But what we're going to do here is I'm going to rotate the engine around until this guy is sitting where the cam, so we get the cam out. It's got a little indentation here where it can go around that. So we'll, first things first, we'll go on ahead, and maybe the best way to do this would be to an impact that might just make life a little easier. And I'm going to do our best not to drop the bolts down inside, because that's a pain in the ass. And I think what I'm going to do here is, you know, I just want to make sure I can hang on to things. Okay, there's one, and I'm going to put that here. And then I'm going to rotate this engine a little bit again, using a 17, and just roll it back so I can get at that one. Okay, good. All right, And now we can take, and you can slide the gear off, and we should be able to get the cam and the gear out of there. I need to rotate this engine back to where that little indentation is, so that helps us get the cam, or it gets it over the cam, what it's really for. And if I remember right, it is not an easy job. Maybe we'll just get the chain off. Do it that way. I can get this to come out of the way. There we go. Chain is off. Okay, so now we got our cam and our cam gear. And I'm going to take and put a wrench in here, or just a screwdriver at the moment, to keep the chain from falling down in. It may fall down in anyway, but oh well. So now our head is loose and it's ready to come off and out. And let me get this other bolt out of here. One, and there's the other. All right, so now what I'm going to do here, we'll lift the head off, which we can do. I'm going to hold on to the chain the best I can here. Well, actually, what I think I'll do is just put something in there that will hold on to the chain a little better, and get this head lifted off. And then now I can put this in here so that I can release that. The chain will fall on that, and our head is off. It just sealed up. It looks like it just sealed up so nicely, but something weird went on. Okay, pull this up. We got O-rings in there that are all sealed up nicely. A nice copper coat on it. And if you look, you can see some oil around in there, but it was squirting out pretty good. So the gasket is in good shape, but it will recoat it with a specialized silicone that will make sure it works okay. The two O-rings are in great shape. Go put these two guys right here. And if you look, everything in here is clean and beautiful and properly coated. But there was just too much pressure. There's something when the oil comes up this passage, it is not, it's got too much resistance. But we can, if we make too little resistance in there, you lose oil pressure on the whole thing. So we have to make sure that we find out what's going on with it. But for the most part, this thing looks beautiful. It is in perfect shape. There's very little leakage around anything else. just a small amount of oil, but it's just enough to be leaking, which sucks. But this is mostly dry, which is really, really good. And there was oil up around in here, and some of it could have been coming out from the front over here, which is a possibility. But we'll get it all sealed up and back to beautiful. And just like that, the whole top end is apart. And what took less than basically a half an hour. No big deal. We're gonna look and we're gonna investigate any kind of oil leaks going on around here, and we will seal them up. And as you can see, that cleaned up really easily because it was in really good shape in the first place. Our leakage is from around here. I'm not finding anything weird. It looks like it's all good. Maybe we just need to seal it up a little better. So now I have completely cleaned this surface so that it is immaculate, dry. There is no residue on it whatsoever. It's perfect for now. So that's ready to go. I've done the same thing to the head. It is completely cleaned up, ready to go. And I have taken a OEM head gasket. Now, I did some reading, and they say in the manual, if the head gasket is not disintegrated, if it's disintegrated, replace it, but you don't have to replace it. So this is more than a one-time use. What I did do is I went over this with a torch, just an LP gas torch, and I kind of annealed the copper surfaces a little bit. And what that did is also drew out the oil that was in this. So this gasket is actually in pretty good shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat around in here with some very high heat silicone. The silicone I'm going to use is this ultra copper. It is made to work on exhaust manifolds, and that gets a lot hotter than this head will ever get. So this will be good stuff. It's a good gasket maker, and we'll do that, and then we're going to seal around these very, very carefully. We'll do that when we put the head together and then put the cam on, get the cam timed. What this is going to do is, even though the head isn't tight on there, most modern RTVs and whatnot tell you to put it on and let it dry for a little while, and then that gets the oxygen into it, and most of these are activated by moisture in the air. So that gives it a little bit of air to let it start to cure, and then by the time the cams are in and timed, then we can put the cover on it, and that'll be just enough time to get everything to seal as good as we can get it. It's very important that we seal around here because that's where the leaks come from. It seems that there's a lot of pressure going up. I checked the head. It just has a passage going into the cam itself, and the cam has no relief holes, so it just kind of oozes out. So there is a lot of pressure right in here, and if this isn't sealing well, as you can see, it's really, really close. It's really, really close right in here, and oil can get from here into there. So we have to be very, very careful how we seal this up, and we're going to be very, very careful when we do it. So I'm going to get this guy dressed up, ready to go, and when I'm all ready to put the head on, we'll go through that procedure. So the first thing I'm going to do with this gasket is give it a quick coat of copper spray gasket high temp sealant. We're just going to give this has all been cleaned up. I just gave it another shot with some brake clean, got all the oils out of it. I burned all the oils out of it. I've annealed the copper parts in here. So we're going to give this a quick coat. That'll give it good adhesion. And then we're going to go in and we may wipe off some of it and put some of our silicone around this part where it was thick from the factory. But we need to make sure we've got good sealant all the way around and make sure this gasket is as fresh as it can be. I'll aim this way. And we'll see how this goes. I may have to take this outside. We'll see if this is making a mess. Yeah, not too bad. So we'll just get. I'm not gonna put too much around where the silicone needs to go. We'll leave that for silicone, but we'll make sure that we get all the rest of this stuff covered. It's pretty thin there. That's fine. We'll do the same thing here on both sides. This is the top side. We're going to give this thing a fighting chance if we can. We'll let that dry. And again, around in here is the most important area. And this is going to get some silicone around it, that high heat silicone. And there are some oval washers that go in there, and they talk to you specifically in the service manual. Do not forget those oval washers. So we'll let this go. And we got to make sure that we're really well covered toward the cylinder. All right, I'll let this sit somewhere and dry, and we'll put some other silicone around in there. So our gasket is nice and dry. It's not super dry. It's only been a few minutes, but I'm going to take some of this and I'm going to go work around the places that it needs by hand. And again, this is a high heat gasket maker, and this will be the perfect product for this. And I'm just going into where, if you look, you can see here, this is the aftermarket guy, and it's a good idea of where the silicone needs to go. But we're gonna probably do a little more than what the aftermarket did. Okay, and it has it all the way back into here. Okay, we can do that. Okay, we'll just keep on working it in. This isn't going to dry for a while, which is good, because we want it to set up a little bit before we actually clamp down the head. And if we had to, we could clamp down the head just using the bolts, but we're not going to have to. We're going to be fine with this. And we can see where that goes. And we'll just do the other side now. We can't lay the gasket down anymore, so I got to kind of do this one-handed. So you can see. And I'm going to flip this over so I can see the same side of this thing. Okay, we're going to make sure this is good. It's not too thick. I'm just putting a nice, but I'm trying to put an even coat on it, nothing too crazy. but I do want to fill up this whole area. And really, I don't know if the camera picks it up, but I can kind of see where the factory had put the silicone. It's more of a very more roughly textured. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm putting some of this stuff around that oil passage. It is the only oil passage going up in there. And it is under, it must get a lot of pressure because it wants to just weep out of this thing. Okay, and we're going to do both sides of that. Get this on there. I'm going to do a nice, make sure a nice even coat all the way around on all of these. Okay, so I've got it all coated all the way around. We want to make sure that, especially in this area here where it can leak across, it's got a coating on it. Okay, and we're all set here. And I'm just going to put a thin coat across the top, just for laughs. Nice thin coat. And that copper coating really adheres to the gasket really nicely. Now, after I cleaned it all up, it really did a good job. Very nice. Okay, so we're all got a nice even coat. This stuff does not dry immediately, so that's really good. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lean this up against here so I don't lose everything. Okay, we're back at the motorcycle, and so the first thing we need to do is we're going to put on our gasket. Here's our gasket, and it goes on the one way. You can see which way it all goes, because this is relatively simple. I'm going to just kind of put this in place, and then we'll get the chain through there. All right, and now chain through there. I can do this, and I'll just kind of take this, make sure he doesn't go away and fall down in. I have to go fishing it out. Okay, so we've got this guy in. Now we need to deal with the with those little rubber oval rings, and what we're going to do is we are going to use the same sealant on it. And this is what they look like. They're little oval rings. They are unobtainium. Don't lose them if you've got a KZ400 and you need to get this job done. And you got to be really careful here. These things are, if they've been used, they will, there's two ways. It kind of, the oil comes up here, over, and up. And you want to make sure you don't have any of this sealant in there. So I'm going to get these coated, and I'll make sure they're all free to flow. Okay, and I'm just kind of rubbing this stuff in and making sure it's in there. And then I'm going to make sure that there is no sealant in that passageway. And I'm going to do that with an X-Acto knife just to make sure there's nothing in there. And when I put it down inside, I'll do it again. I'm just going to make sure that I don't mess this up. Okay, you can see that. Goes there. And I can see a little bit of sealant in there. And we want that gone. All right, looking pretty good. Okay, and I'm going to put some more sealant around the edge on each one. Well, I got to tell you, this stuff is messy though. Sheesh. All right, a little more sealant. I got to be real careful here. I'm going to go just around the edges, but not get anything on the inside. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to take the camera and make it so I'm going to let you guys see what's going on here. Now, I very, very carefully seal up all the way around there, and there's nothing in the passageway, and I did the same thing on both sides, so we're all cleaned up and nice. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the head on this thing. Now we're just going to drop it on and let the sealant kind of work its way, kind of dry up a little bit like it's supposed to. There you are. Now I have cleaned the head within an inch of its life, and the only thing now that I need to do is I better get something to fish that chain through. Okay, we'll just take a little hook here, and what I'm going to do here is put the head in, and I'll hook the chain and pull it up and get it through. And I just sprayed the head off one more time with some brake clean. So let's get this guy on here. He's in the right position. The cables are kind of giving me a little grief here, but we'll get it. There we go. There's one. No, you want to go down in there. Oh, easy. There we go. All right, so now I've got this kind of here, and then I'm going to fish that chain through. If I can. I really don't feel like digging it back out of there. We need it so you can turn. There we go. Okay, we've got the chain. Now the cylinder head can drop down in. I'll just put my little holder here to keep the chain from falling in. Okay, and then get the carbs out of the way. Okay, and the head just drops on, and it's just lightly on there. Look at something here. We can probably take a couple of these, and we'll just kind of run these down a little bit to hold the head down. Nothing fancy. Okay, so the head is in place, and now it's time to put in the cam. What I'm going to do though is we're going to do this in a separate video. So that video will come out before this one, before we show this, so you can see it. I just don't want to make this one too long. So we will put in the cams and get that done, and then there'll be another video that explains it in detail. But let's get this bad boy together. Okay, and since everything is so clean, I need to put some oil on each of these surfaces, but I don't want to get it on my mating surfaces. So I'm being real careful here with the oil, but it's going to have plenty. So I have completely sealed all the way around. It is, it's actually a fairly thin, even layer. I didn't get too crazy with any of this stuff. I don't want any excess going on the inside. But what I did do is I filled up every little bit of the that gap, or where that O-ring used to go. So that's filled up, and I'm just making sure that I don't have any excess floating around in here, because we don't need sealant all over everything. The good part is this stuff doesn't chunk off like the other stuff does. Okay, so now this guy goes on this way, because we know that, because first of all the tack gear goes out the front, but here's the tack gear, and then we can just take this guy and set it on. And that is started. And now we can go on ahead and we can put in our bolts. These get tightened down in a certain order. You go halfway with the torque, and then the other half. So we start at it's 11 and 22 is our numbers. And we'll just wind these down a little bit. We just want to get it started. So everybody's out, and we can wipe off any excess that's sitting on the outside. Okay, they are run down. It's not tight yet. We want that. I want this sealer to dry up just a little bit before we do anything. So I'll be back when that's dry enough. All right, so it has been about an hour, hour and a half, almost 2 hours since we put this together, and this is just lightly pushed down. It's not squeezing on the gaskets. So let's go on ahead and torque this bad boy down. We got to start, we're going to do 11 foot-pounds first and then 22. And we'll just set this to 11 foot-pounds. Whoop. A little carried away there. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 foot-pounds. And so it starts with number 1 right here. Now this is going to start tightening the whole thing down. So it's got a little bit to go. And here we go. 5, 7, 8, 9, and 11. Number 2. I'm going to run these down a little bit now. We'll be here forever if we don't. And now we'll go to number 2. Okay, number 3. Number 4. Number 5 is this one. Okay, now we're going to set this to 22. 22, and start all over again. And number 1. Okay, number 2. Number 3. And 8. Okay. Next is these guys here. These get torqued down to 16 foot-pounds. And there you have it. Head is all torqued down, and you can see the sealant had just dried it up. It's still pliable, but it makes kind of like a gasket, and then it seals up. So hopefully we are sealed up and never have to do this again. Okay, I put a nice coat of sealant on our breather, and these guys will get torqued down to 16 foot-pounds. And the service manual reminds you that there are washers on this. Okay. No particular real order here. Assembly. I'm going to spray a little silicone on that so that our carbs can slide in a little easier. We've got to make sure this is kind of a really tight fit, but we'll get it. There we go. Okay, now what are you hitting on here? Alright, and now what we need to do, take this guy, okay, so now we need to put on our chain tensioner before I do too much of anything else. Very simple. It's got a spring-loaded deal here. It just presses. You just put it in the hole and you start winding it down until the little rod is just even with the end. Then we'll take our 10mm wrench and run it down. And that is just about even right there. sure that everything is in good shape. And maybe just a little bit more on that. Doesn't take much. I can do that by hand. There it is, that's even. So I'll take this, tighten it up. Okay, I'll take this guy. And the O-ring is on there all right still. And now we can continue on with our, get our exhaust all done. So let's get our top motor mount back on. And we will before I forget, okay, we're going to take this and get it to 16 foot-pounds. Okay, so I'm going to go check the gap on these plugs because I dropped one. Okay, about 25 thousandths on these. The other side. And I'll go on ahead now and put on our ignition coil. Get this guy all put into place. Go off our bolts. Well, the camera died and I put on the ignition coil, just a couple bolts. And now I just put on the air filter. We got to put those on. And we need to go tighten up the other side. And with all that, this job is finished. The only thing that we have to do here is wait for the sealant to completely set up. I don't want to start this thing and try to pump oil through it when this sealant is still even halfway there. We waited about an hour and a half and I can see here there's some sealant that's squeezed out, but it's kind of dry. I mean, it definitely isn't wet, which is nice. That's what we want. And it's squeezed out, and that kind of forms a gasket. So everything is torqued down properly. Carburetors are all in place. Everything is in where it should be. Everything is working good. So we're going to let this guy sit, and it's probably going to sit for a week. I'll probably release the video, but we'll see. So it has been about a week since we put our KZ400 back together. I've got the tank back on it. Everything's all buttoned up. It is ready to go. So let's take a look at it. All right, so I'm going to go to the other side, turn on the gas. I think its reserve is up, I believe. Yeah, reserve is up. And we're going to turn it on, give it a bit of choke, and away we go. Everything should be all cleaned up and ready to go. Let it warm up a little bit. Everything was coming from here. I've got nothing at this point. What a sweet motorcycle. Boy, it just turns out so well. And I believe our oil leak is all fixed. Everything is all nice and buttoned up. So this guy is ready to go. And there you have it. We have successfully gone on ahead and replaced the head gasket in our KZ400. We've let it sit for a week. I ran it a little bit more after last time, and it is dry as a bone, which is just fine. That's exactly what we were trying to do. The bike runs perfectly. It is ready to go, and it's a fairly simple operation. It really isn't a lot of work to get those things, replacing a head gasket like that. So that all being said, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and we'll see you next time here on GearHeadGeeks.